Hello, my name is John Peters, and I'll be talking about mobile learning in the classroom today. So what is mobile learning, or M-learning as we call it? M-learning is all about making use of personal devices in the classroom, basically any device that can connect to the internet to allow the students to have access to their education at home and at school. Of course, students can use apps and social media platforms on the internet to enhance their education, and mobile learning teaches students how to be good digital citizens. So the initiative I'd like to focus on is BYOD, which is Bring Your Own Device. That means that students can bring their own personal devices, tablets, laptops, smartphones to school to enhance their education. Schools really need to understand both the benefits and challenges of this, as there are plenty of both, and they need to understand them to be successful in implementing this. So why turn to BYOD? Why should most schools turn to BYOD? There are lots of reasons. Um, Being able to use the internet as a tool helps students to collaborate, helps students to bring their work home and work at their own pace, and it promotes the use of digital tools for learning. As you can see in the background, Google Apps for Education are free and they are available to anyone, very convenient for teachers to use. I currently use Office 365 apps, which are very similar, and I put up some other logos of just a little bit of all kinds of different apps that can assist students with their education. So some more benefits of BYOD. The cost of technology for the school goes down. Students already have these devices, and it seems silly to not utilize their own knowledge of those devices. Students also can personalize their own devices, so it's very convenient for them to use. It's quicker. It's something that they have anyway, and we should take advantage of that. A couple challenges to overcome with BYOD. Of course, not all students are going to have equal access to quality devices. That's an obvious problem. Some students, I work at a Title I school, and some students don't have a computer at home. However, just because there's a digital divide between students doesn't mean that BYOD doesn't benefit other students, and it shouldn't be a reason for completely ignoring BYOD. Schools can, of course, provide alternatives for students that don't have the technology they need. They can have students work in groups if it's lesson-based. They can offer students some kind of device with school funds, make everything fair for every student. And the price for technology would still be lower than it is now. Another challenge is that students, of course, can get distracted or may use their personal devices for inappropriate activities, and that creates a security concern. This is, of course, a big problem. I've had students using phones in my classroom, and they are supposed to not have them at all. This is going to happen. However, again, this is not a reason to completely ignore BYOD. First of all, students go home and immediately turn their phones on and start working on computers, and they enter the world of the internet, and they need to learn what is appropriate and what isn't appropriate at what time. So teaching them digital citizenship is a very valuable skill. Schools also have access to security software, so there are workarounds for this type of thing. And creating a secure network, a Wi-Fi network for students to sign into so that we can control what websites they go to is, of course, something that makes sense. Another challenge that I think is pretty important is that students may need to, or that educators might consider being a big problem, is that students might need to change their devices to suit the software that they want to use. This makes sense because some teachers might want to have things standardized across the board for all students. However, BYOD works well because students already know what's on their devices and know how to use it. And changing the basic idea of that is counterintuitive. Limiting students to specific software and apps does kind of defeat the purpose because the internet opens our education for our students up to a whole world of different options, and letting them use what they think works for them is important. Students learn differently, so why should we make everything the same? It kind of defeats the purpose. So, to end this presentation, the purpose of BYOD is all about giving students the options that might work for them. Overcoming the challenges is, of course, something that everybody should work on in the school, including parents, teachers, administrators, and the students. Teachers need to explain and work with students to make this initiative work. Our world is definitely, our culture is based around technology, and if as schools are places to prepare students for the real world, then this is something that obviously we should think about implementing in schools. And here are some sources.